Hello everybody and welcome to part 2 of my countdown of the 2 lists of the top 10 light novels in Japan for the year 2018 as ranked by Kono Light Novel ga Sugoi, that being a yearly publication where they use online polls of both fans and industry insiders in order to create these rankings. There are actually 2 lists primarily, one for the Bunko format, which is sort of like a smaller, cheaper format, sort of like mass markets in North America, and then the Tankoubon format, which is more like trade paperbacks or hardcovers that we would have in North America. So a little bit more expensive and so forth. I originally meant to do both lists in one video, but by the time I had said everything that I wanted to say, the video was over an hour long, and my computer just could not handle rendering that long a video, so I've had no choice but to split them up, which is why I'm going to be wearing a different shirt once I get into the actual content from here on out. And I hope that if you're watching this and you haven't seen part 1, that you can click on I believe a card link, so you can check that out, so you can see the top 10 Bunko volumes. This will cover the top 10 Tankoubon volumes. I'm sorry for the confusion, and I'm sorry that I couldn't sort of not talk so much and keep these videos to a reasonable length. In any case, thanks very much. If you've watched the first video and you're here for the second one, I really appreciate you coming for this one. And if you're watching this as the first one, I hope you'll like it enough to check out the other video as well. So without further ado, let's get to the list of the top 10 Tankoubon light novels as listed in Kono Light Novel ga Sugoi. Now for the Tankoubon ratings, 6 of the 10 were on the list last year, so even more stability in this top 10. I'm kind of thinking that's maybe because there's less titles published as Tankoubon format. I'm not too sure. And also 6 of those have been licensed for English release. And again, I can only guess that's because these titles come up more often in this list. And my other guess is that from an English publisher's point of view, and let's face it, most English publishers for a physical copy, I mean, I'll talk in Canadian dollars, it's like $16 to $18 for a yen-on novel. I can see them kind of being attracted to the Tankoubon titles because those are titles that Japanese audiences are willing to spend more money on. So I think the thinking would be, hey, English audiences would spend more money because this series is really good. Again, just my guess. I have no insider knowledge on this one whatsoever. It's just my thoughts. If you do have some insider knowledge, I'd love to hear it. Leave it in the comments down below. So let's get right into the titles because this video is getting hella long. So at number 10, If It's For My Daughter, I'd Even Defeat a Demon Lord. The author is Chirolu. It has 6 volumes in Japan. It began publication February 20th, 2015. It is officially licensed in English by J-Novel Club, and they're releasing volume 4 in English in January. It's actually going to be released January 10th, 2018. So we're only 2 volumes behind, like I said, J-Novel. Catching up. I'm really not too sure if the 6th volume is the last. I think somebody told me that there was more material in web novels. They just hadn't published that in Japan yet. So I'm not too sure. If you have some insight, feel free to leave it in the comments down below. I would love to hear it. If they do have more material, I'm betting with it appearing on the list this year, we will see those getting published. It was not in the top 10 last year. Dale is a cool, composed, and highly skilled adventurer who's made quite a name for himself despite his youth. One day on a job deep in the forest, he comes across a little devil girl who's almost wasted away. Unable to just leave her there to die, Dale takes her home and becomes her adoptive father. Devil or not, Latina is beyond adorable, and the adventurer soon finds himself head over heels with being a parent. But why was she out in the forest to begin with? And why does she carry the mark of a criminal? Now, I have read and reviewed the first 2 volumes of this series, and all I can really say at this point is it is a very sweet, cute slice of life in terms of a fantasy style setting. It is really just focused on Latina and experiences that she has growing up in the human world. Things like her first day at school, the first time she meets other kids and makes friends, and so forth. Very slice of life, very cute. I have heard that it gets a little darker as it goes on. I do have volume number 3 that I'm hoping to review again before volume 4 releases in January. But yeah, so far I have enjoyed the series. At number 9, Majo no Tabi Tabi. The author is Jogi Shiraishi. It's also known as The Journey of Elena. There's 5 volumes in Japan. It began publication April 14th, 2016. We have no official English license. In a certain place, there was a traveler witch. Her name was Elena. Being a traveler, she came across many people and countries while continuing her long, long journey. A country that only accepted magicians, a muscle-loving giant, a youth at death's door awaiting his lover's return, a princess left alone in the ruined country, and the story of the witch herself up until now and from now on. While meeting particularly peculiar people and experiencing others' moments of beauty, even now the witch keeps spinning the tale of meeting and parting evermore. Please don't mind it. After all, I'm a traveler. I must hurry ahead. The witch. Yes, me. All I can really say about this is it sounds like a magical Kino's Journey. I haven't watched the Kino's Journey anime because I'm still holding out hope that we get the light novels. But just based on what I know of the format, that each episode or a couple of episodes and each volume of the light novel has to do with Kino visiting a new country or like a new city or whatever. This sounds really along those same lines, only given a much more sort of fantasy magical twist. I think it sounds really cute. I'd like to read this. So, but I don't know. We'll see if we get it in English. It's still relatively new, so, and this was the first time, well, okay, I don't know if it's the first time ever, but it did not appear in the top 10 list last year. I don't know where it ranked or if it ranked at all, so maybe this is a future title to keep an eye out for. At number 8, Yokohama Eki SF. The author is Yuba Isukari, and this is also known as Yokohama Station Fable. There's 2 volumes in Japan. Began publication December 24th of 2016. There's no official English license. It was not in the top 10 last year. Now, again, this was a title that I found was hard to find information about. But the gist I get is that somebody was saying that Yokohama Station in Japan right now is this big sprawling thing. It goes several stories underground, several stories above ground. It's almost like a labyrinth in some places in terms of the stores and layout and everything else. So this author is essentially taking that sprawling station, this ever-growing station, to the next level, which is the station becomes almost sentient in its expansion and effectively spreads throughout Japan, and it sounds kind of like it exerts at least some control over human beings. And this sounds to me like it's a story following a human being trying to break out of the system. That's the gist I get. If you're familiar with this series, if you know anything better about it, please leave that comment in the comments down below. Again, it's much more of a sci-fi dystopian type series, which I think is kind of cool. And yeah, I'd like to check this one out too. Like I said, I always look and enjoy to find something that's kind of new and different. So I'm not too surprised to see this on the top 10 because of that sort of newness and interest to it. But it is still a relatively new series, so I'm not shocked that it hasn't exactly shot up to number 1 on its first go. At number 7, Mushoku Tensei. Author is Rifujin na Magonote. Last year, it was at number 4, so it's actually fallen a number of places. There is 16 volumes in Japan. It began publication January 23rd of 2014. We have no official English license for the light novels, but the manga is currently being released by 7 Seas. And again, I believe this is one of those Fujimi Shobo novels. Just saying. A 34-year-old NEET otaku, chased out from his house by his family, found that his life is reaching a dead end. He then recalled that his life could actually have been much better if he had just made better choices. Just when he was at the point of regret, he saw a truck moving at fast speed and 3 high schoolers in its path. Mustering all the strength he had, he tried to save them, but ended up getting run over by the truck, quickly having his life ended. The next time he opened his eyes, he was reincarnated to a world of sword and magic as Rudius Greyrat. Born to a new world, a new life, Rudius decided that, this time, I'll really live my life to the fullest, with no regret. Thus starts the journey of a man yearning to restart his life. So a reincarnation isekai title, not too shocking that there's one on the list. And obviously was popular last year, continues to be popular this year. That's not too shocking. Certainly not shocking to see an isekai title in the top 10. But again, like not one that we've had in English yet. Maybe eventually. At number 6, That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime. The author is Fusei. Last year it was number 8, so it's actually moved up a couple spots. There are 11 volumes in Japan as of December 2017. It began publication May 30th, 2014. And it has been licensed for English release by Yen On, and they're releasing the first volume December 19th of 2017. So we're going to be reading it and checking it out soon. Living alone and never having had a girlfriend, 37-year-old Satoru Mikami is dissatisfied with how his life has turned out. But after dying at the hands of a robber, he awakens to a fresh start in a new world as a slime monster. I don't really have anything to say about that because I haven't read it yet. So I will say that there have been titles that surprised me, even though I thought they sounded kind of stupid. One of which I'll be talking actually about shortly, so we'll talk about them when we get there. So it doesn't really surprise me. Again, it's another one of those reincarnation isekais, but this one putting the slightly different take on it, that the reincarnation is as a monster as opposed to another human form. At number 5, we have the Monogatari series by Nishio Ishin. Last year it was number 2, so it's fallen a number of spots. There are 23 volumes in Japan. It began publication November 1st, 2006. It is officially licensed for release in English by Vertical. They're going to release the 7th volume. That's by English release standards. It's the 6th by Japanese numbering. And that is going to be coming out in December of 2017, so very shortly. This series, if you're not familiar with it, which seems kind of odd because it's quite a popular series, generally follows a boy who was turned into a vampire, then managed to regain most of his humanity, who then ends up encountering all sorts of weird sort of situations that all seem to revolve around these abnormalities, these sort of spirits and monsters and curses and everything else, and sort of the part he plays in trying to unravel them or save people from them and so forth. It's actually quite a good series. Really focuses a lot on characters and dialogue and wordplay. It has little naughty bits if you can get past some of that. But overall, it's a fairly good read with a lot of sort of like rewarding moments in it. I've enjoyed it very much overall. I've read all that we've had released so far in English and intend to read the rest as they come out. At number 4, we have Overlord. This one by Kugane Maruyama. Last year it was number 1, so it fell a couple of points this year. There's 12 volumes in Japan. It began publication July 30th, 2012. And it is licensed for English release by Yen On. They're going to be releasing volume 6 in January 2018. This one is the story about a salaryman. He is playing a virtual reality MMO, and it's about to be shut down. And so he decides to stay logged in as this character till the very point where he gets kicked out as the servers are shut off. But instead of that happening, he finds himself transported to another world, which is similar but still different from the game world. But most shockingly, he realizes that he has been transported in the form of his character of the game, which was a lich. So he looks like a big magical skeleton. And the NPCs that he had that populated his dungeon, that he had sort of put together with his guild, have actually turned into real living beings. And so the story revolves around him trying to make a life for himself and these NPCs that he feels responsible for, and trying to figure out just how this world works and what this world's all about. It's a fantastic series. One of my favorites, bar none. I always go on about how much I love this series. So to see it ranking well is perfect to me. I'm actually just kind of disappointed that it didn't stay higher on the list, but you know, it's going to go up and down. That's going to happen. But definitely Overlord, excellent series. I can say without hesitation, definitely one of the ones that I really truly enjoy. At number 3, The Saga of Tanya the Evil. This one by Carlo Zen. There are 8 volumes in Japan. It began publication October 31st of 2013, and it has been licensed for English release by Yen On. They're going to be releasing the first volume December 19th, 2017. So very soon we're going to have this in hand. I am definitely going to read this. It had an anime translation done that aired earlier this year, which looked really good and got a lot of favorable response from people. And I held off because I was really hoping we were going to get this licensed, and I'm glad that I did, because now I can go in and read it spoiler free. And yeah, so this is what I'm really looking forward to. On the front line of the war, there's a little girl. Blonde hair, blue eyes, and porcelain white skin. She commands the army with a lisping voice. Her name is Tanya de Gruchev. But in reality, she is one of Japan's most elite salarymen, reborn as a little girl after angering a mysterious being X who calls himself God. And this little girl, who prioritizes over anything else efficiency and her own career, will become the most dangerous being amongst the sorcerers of the Imperial Army. You know what? There's nothing else to say. I want to read this. I really do. Especially, like, I think she's going to go fight God at some point. That's my take on it. And yeah, I think it sounds like such a, I mean, yes, it's another isekai and stuff, but it just has enough little twists in it that I am really looking forward to checking it out. At number 2, this is the one that I was saying I was going to talk about later, that I was like, this book is going to be terrible. So I'm a Spider. So What? This one by Okina Baba. Last year it was number 3, so it's moved up a spot. There are 7 volumes in Japan. It began publication December 10th of 2015. It is licensed by Yenon, and they've released 1 volume so far, which I read, which I reviewed, and was pleasantly surprised by. The world where the hero and the Demon King continue to oppose each other. The grand magic from the hero and the Demon King crossed over worlds and exploded in the classroom of a certain high school. The students who died in the explosion will be reincarnated in different worlds. The protagonist, who had the lowest reputation in the class, was reincarnated as a spider. Nevertheless, she adapts quickly to the present conditions with strong willpower. This is a story of she who has become a spider, trying whatever she can to live. Like I said, you know what? It doesn't bother me. Like, I think this probably would have bothered me if I hadn't read it, but it was pleasantly surprising. It had some good moments in it. The way that it was handled, I thought was really decent. So I was actually impressed with it. And I don't know if maybe that's partly because I went in with such low expectations, but yeah, I enjoyed it. So again, I don't bear a grudge of it being on this top 10 at this point. Maybe, like I said, I would have preferred to see Overlord higher than that, because I think Overlord's still better, but that, that's me. Finally, at number 1, we have Honzuki no Gekokujou. This one by Miya Kazuki. It's also known as The Ascendance of a Bookworm. Last year's ranking was number 5, and it's gone right up to number 1. There are 13 volumes in Japan as of December 2017. It began publication January 25th of 2015. We have no official English license. Urano, a bookworm who had finally found a job as a librarian at a university, was sadly killed shortly after graduating from college. She was reborn as the daughter of a soldier in a world where the literacy rate is low and books were scarce. No matter how much she wanted to read, there were no books around. What is a bookworm to do without any books? Make them, of course. Her goal is to become a librarian. So that she may once again live surrounded by books, she must start by making them herself. As a reader, I love this. I want this series to come out. I want to see how this works. I mean, 13 volumes, popular enough to rank number 1. I want to read this series. And like I said, I know that's like partly the bookworm in myself. That's kind of like, it's like myself and a light novel. But I want to read that series. And it just seems cool to me that it's not like she's reborn to fight the demons. She's reborn with superpowers. She's reborn even as a monster. No, it's nothing like that. She's reborn as a girl who wants to read books, and so she has to find a way to make them. I love it. I love it. I want to check it out. So if we look at the fan vote, number 2 is Overlord, which, yes, I fully appreciate that. But number 1 is Honzuki no Gekokujou. So it's the exact same as the one that was number 1 overall involving the industry. So I think that's really telling. I think that's very telling of how good this series is. I mean, yeah, that would have been I don't know this title that's at number 1. It certainly sounds very enticing to me, but definitely I appreciate Overlord being right up there. So yeah, I think honestly that the Tankoubon list is really good, and it really does seem to kind of still follow at least a little bit. I mean, certainly the top title being the same on both the fan vote and the involving industry vote, I think is a really good sign, and speaks a lot for that book. Hopefully that means I bet you we see an anime on it, and hopefully it means we'll see an English license maybe announced sometime this year. That'd be awesome. So those are the top 10, the 2 top 10 lists of Kono Light Novel ga Sugoi. My God, this video is long. I am very, very sorry. If you managed to follow all the way through, I greatly appreciate it. If you're brand new to the channel and you love light novels, you should consider subscribing. I do 2 to 3 reviews every week, as well as a top 10 countdown of the best selling light novels in Japan. I also do videos like this when special occasions come along. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Till then, bye-bye for now.